Well, hello.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the 220 Gals of the Redemption Podcast. I am Jessica.
And I'm Dr. Amber.
And we are so excited. Before we get into this episode, Amber and I just want to give a huge thank you for all the support, the likes, the follows, subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are just so appreciative. We're appreciative of the feedback. And we want to make sure that we are giving you what you want to listen to and hear or watch, I should say. Mm-hmm. And so first off, we would love for you to give this video a like, subscribe, and please interact. Let us know what you want to hear from us, because at the end of the day, yes, we are doing this through God working through us, but we want to do this for you. We want to give you what you are wanting to understand, any questions that you have, and we want to navigate it and dissect it ourselves. So be sure to leave us any feedback, questions, concerns. We are open.
Yes.
And possibly, do you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, I think that's relevant to what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to be generating a lot of just discussion and asking questions. And we'd love to hear your feedback about this topic, because I think it affects every single person on the planet. We're going to be focusing on women today, but it definitely affects men. So yeah, we really would love to hear your feedback. So feel free to jump in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear from you. But today we are talking about body image.
I relate so heavily. I'm so excited for this episode.
This was Jessica's idea. Yes. Yeah. But really, we're talking like physical appearance, our looks, body image, our weight, all these aspects of our physical self, and how the world influences, how the culture influences this as women versus what God has to say about our design as women, as physical beings. And it's juicy.
Because the world is completely contradicts God's design and intention.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I'm just kind of noticing a theme in everything, that what Jesus has to say typically has nothing to do with what the world has been teaching us, what the culture has been teaching us, right? And so it's really hard to be a human being in a physical body living in this 3D reality and also trying to live like Jesus lives.
So difficult.
And we got to talk about it. We got to have open spaces to be vulnerable and say, okay, this thing that we have called a body and all the things that goes with it and all the messages that we get as women about it. And how do we steward this body that God gave us without falling victim to what the world has to say about our body?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start, we wanted to start by looking at kind of the indoctrination, the programming that we've gotten as women about our bodies. And so this is where I think a lot of our listeners are really going to relate to this. But I was actually looking this up, and it started back in the 1800s. I'm guessing it started before then, but literally when I was doing the research, it started back in 1871. There was a cigarette company called Pearl Tobacco. Well, it's like tobacco company for cigarettes. And they put a naked woman on the pack back in 1871 as a way to sell the cigarettes, which I think we all know women's naked bodies are used to sell everything under the sun. 100%.
I mean,
right?
I feel like that's all I saw while growing up. That's why I fell into it.
Yeah. Say more about that.
I mean, because I didn't have God, I didn't have a compass or something very stern, the truth to follow. And so I only had what the world would program. Movies, American Pie, songs like Stacy's Mom. I mean, everything was so overly sexual growing up. Carl's Jr. ads.
The burger commercials. Yeah.
Yeah. And even in marketing, you learn sex sells.
Oh, yeah. That slogan of sex sells actually started back in the 1800s. So women have been used as propaganda to sell every product under the sun. And it kind of evolved into pinup girls and evolved into Playboy. And nowadays it's become porn, OnlyFans, sugar daddies, all of it, right?
I mean, I always wanted to be a Playboy model.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Always.
Wow.
So my stepdad, we always had Playboy growing up in my house.
Yeah.
So I saw so much of that. I was also I was exposed very young to like a lot of sexual stuff. And I don't know. I think that because women have this tendency and because marketing throws at us to have like this certain physique. I mean, Playboy models are hot, they're sexy. And growing up, you think that's what men want. So I'm sure that was, you know, a part of my desire of wanting to, but also I just like the appeal. I like the look.
Yeah. And when we don't have a heavenly father, right? And also we've talked about this in other episodes, and we didn't have healthy earthly fathers. It's like becoming sexy, sexual, attractive, that becomes a focus, especially when every media is showing us as women that's what we should look like, right? To be half naked, to have our boobs out, to have a certain hair length, to have a certain face shape, to have a certain body shape, all of that is being programmed into us every day, all the time, still is happening. And so I've noticed women, particularly young women, I was the same, are so insecure about their bodies.
I think it's just gotten worse with the uprise of social media as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, I remember growing up, we had magazines. So Cosmo was huge during my time. Also, the magazine called 17. And, you know, even in Cosmo specifically, it would teach you like how to give sexual acts, but then it would also be like, do this workout and you'll get like the flattest stomach and the best abs. And, you know, I remember being younger and doing 100 crunches before bed because I thought like, okay, if I do this every single day before I go to bed, like I'll get there.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Well, it's how many girls can relate to that? How many girls can relate to like examining their bodies to a level that was obsessive and hyper focusing on their body parts constantly in every outfit choice and every angle of your picture, right? When I first met you.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was that girl.
Yes. Yeah. When I first met you, you're like,
oh gosh,
what's your good side? And I was just like, I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't know. But yeah, it was like, and also I didn't grow up with a phone, you know, I didn't grow up with the internet. I'm a little bit older than she is, but like, you know, so it's kind of crazy how everything is filtered through what our body looks like. And the messages that we get about that consistently causes so many problems. Like, what have you seen that it's done to women over time?
I think it just causes women for the rest of their existence to constantly strive for the next thing. You know, because it's like you achieve whatever you wanted. Let's say that I'll even give myself as an example. I got into bodybuilding because I was not happy with the way that I looked. And although there were a lot of positives, it just made me even more self-conscious of every aspect of how I looked. You know, I've already always had body dysmorphia, but it just like enhanced it. And so after bodybuilding, you know, especially that look on stage is a one-day thing. But you get for 3 months, you just see yourself constantly getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And because our society most of the time is like, oh, being small is where you want to be. That's where men will find you the most attractive. You'll be the happiest there. All of a sudden, after you're competing, you start seeing yourself going back up. And it's like this whirlwind of like, oh, I want to go back there. So then you're doing excessive, like you eat a ton of food because you've been starving yourself. And then you go to starving yourself for a couple days, or you're doing extra cardio for like 2 hours at the gym every single day. And so it's like this back and forth. But then, you know, after you get out of that, it's like, okay, what else can I do to my body? What's the next thing? Oh, I can go get boobs. I did that. You know, so I think what I've seen growing up is there's always, once you would get one thing that you want the next thing.
It's never enough.
Yes, it never ends.
And when you were sharing that, it was like, okay, so you worked so hard for this one day, this one competition, which was essentially about how your body looked, right? It was all about just how does my body look? And you spend so much time focusing on how your body looks. Meanwhile, it's creating an unhealthy, distorted relationship with food.
And it creates a really unhealthy identity of my worth comes from the way that I look.
Yes. So it's distorting your identity. You have an unhealthy relationship with food. You probably have an unhealthy relationship with working out, with exercise. When I say unhealthy, I mean extreme. Anything that's fairly extreme typically isn't balanced and typically isn't that healthy for us. And the root of it is what, do you think? What's the root of that?
I mean, for me, it was always validation.
Mm-hmm. Meaning?
Like, because I've talked about this in previous episodes. Like, I never saw my self-worth. Yeah. I always thought my self-worth always came from the outside. Mm-hmm. When actually, God teaches us everything comes from the inside, not the outside.
Right. So it's like how long our hair is, our skin tone, or like, for me, it was being tan. It was I would put inserts in constantly in my bra because I just didn't have big enough boobs. I was constantly trying to make myself look like I had bigger boobs. These inserts went with me everywhere.
Oh, in bodybuilding, they teach you, because especially you lose so much fat. When you compete, you actually get pantyhose and you get rice. And because it gives you that more natural look rather than like socks and stuff. It's a little like lumpy and unnatural. So you get rice and you make like little balls of rice and you stuff it in there and it makes it look like you have naturally
like in your swimsuit.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
I've never heard of that. You just didn't do the chicken cutlets.
You can do you need a lot. I mean, I was flat, so any little skin
because you're like not eating,
right?
Also, and working out a ton, so like your boobs probably disappear, to some degree.
I just thought it was funny because I learned that and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, so like you spent all this time focusing, and I mean, I did too in my own way, because I think as women, I've just noticed young girls, and especially with TikTok and Instagram and all these social media platforms where the filters, and it's like presenting an image, a flawless, symmetrical image of our faces, of how we look without pores, just perfection. And then now you're seeing with plastic surgery, I think younger and younger girls are going in. Even my dentist, I went to the dentist the other day, and she was like, yeah, I had a girl come in that was 20 or 19. She wanted a full set of veneers. She had great teeth. They just weren't perfect. She wanted a full set of veneers. And so it's like the striving for perfection has become an addiction and an obsession for a lot of people.
I would say it's always been there, but because of the uprise of social media and just getting more marketing in your face constantly 24/7, it's created it to be even worse.
Yeah.
But I'm curious for you, what were some of the things that you noticed growing up that you were just like constantly nitpicking or strived and wanted?
I think I was, like all of us, really indoctrinated with the programming of the hourglass shape of a woman, and my shape doesn't fit that. And so I was consistently wearing like corsets around my waist.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to build my butt. I was constantly putting, chicken cutlets in my bra so my boobs would look better. I was always wearing extremely tight, revealing clothes, tons of makeup, just doing anything I could to try and look light, bright, appealing, sexy. And I see this everywhere. You see young girls dressing like that all the time. And underneath it, there was so much just criticism of myself, just constantly. I look back at pictures during times when I was really hard on myself, and now I look at myself and I'm like, oh, I was so pretty. I couldn't see that.
Isn't that crazy? I still do this. Take photos of myself and I'm like, I don't like these. And then 6 months later, I'll go back and look at the photos. I'm like, oh, these are cute.
Yeah.
I look great.
Yeah. Because we're programmed to hate ourselves. We're programmed to hate our bodies as women. And I think men are like catching up to that. But we are like everything, their makeup, cosmetics, hair, nails, everything is geared towards changing us, enhancing us. And the message is you're not good enough as you are. Mm-hmm. And they're making billions and trillions of dollars off of us hating ourselves. So the work is like, how do you combat that? Because when you fall, most women I know, I mean, look, we're wearing makeup right now, right? We've had, like pretty much at this point, I still dye my hair. My hair's dark brown and I've dyed it since high school. I don't like to put on mascara, so I have eyelash extensions. So I still do some things to enhance my appearance. And I don't think we're like inherently against that. And I always think about the fact of, when is too much too much?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the question I want to pose to our listeners is like, because I know there's a lot of people, and I kind of want to get into this. There's a lot of people that are very for anything a woman wants to do to make herself feel good, do it. If it's plastic surgery, if it's Botox, if it's fillers, like there's no judgment, just do it. And then there's other people that say like, we need to be more natural. We need to learn to embrace and accept like how God designed us essentially. And I kind of want to talk about those different camps because I looked up plastic surgery stats, and like of the people who get plastic surgery, about almost 86% of them are women. And the top 5 plastic surgeries are liposuction, breast augmentation, tummy tuck, breast lift, and eyelid surgery, which I didn't know. I didn't know that.
Because I'm a TikTok girly,
Yeah.
I do consume a little too much. I recently saw this girl who got that surgery and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that's a thing.
Because the eyelid one?
Yeah, because I have eyelids that, there's a little like extra skin, but I've never thought about getting surgery to make it where it's like fully like barely any skin there.
See, I didn't know if that was a cultural thing. I didn't know if folks who maybe their eyes are a little more closed looking, they're trying to open them.
Well, interesting that you brought that up. So I used to do a brand ambassador, and I've worked with a couple different like companies and with a lot of different cultures. And what I find interesting is Koreans, that's actually plastic surgery is very like popular, and it's almost like a you need to get it, but it's under the rug type of thing. So many women in Korea, as soon as they turn 18, that's actually one of the surgeries they do.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about it. I've kind of seen some
I
things
don't know
about
too much, but
Yeah.
a woman I was working with, a Korean company, and she was like telling me all these things, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy just how plastic surgery is just so, I mean, it's
normalized.
and it's $1 billion company. And at the end of the day, you don't know the consequences that come with it. And it just like feeds into that. Okay, we did that. You could do this. You could do this. What's the next thing you want to do?
Well, that's what I mean is like, when is enough?
Right.
And so for me, I wanted to get my boobs done forever. And I just didn't have the money for that. And I also didn't think that I should spend money on that. But then there came a point, because I was so obsessed about my breast size. I can't tell you enough how obsessed I was.
I think all women are, because I used to be the same way.
It's absurd. The amount of time spent on thinking about it.
Well, that and like movies and what people say in music and, did I already say movies?
Yeah.
Television.
Yeah.
Just all of it. It's all centered around big boobs.
Yeah. And there's definitely a message that you should have, at least a 36C, right? And so if you don't have that, it's like how, and so as women, and especially when you're young, you're so impressionable. You're honestly way more vulnerable to all of this stuff. You're vulnerable. Everyone's vulnerable to it. But I got to a point where, and I think I told you this, that I was just like, if God wanted me to have big boobs, he would have given them to me. And I was personally reckless with my body for many years. I would show parts of my body that I shouldn't have been showing and doing things like that. And I was like, God probably knew what he was doing when he did not give me extra large breasts. And so when I settled into that, and I wasn't even saved when I thought of that, but when I settled into that, I let it go. And I was like able to start being like, okay, well, this is how God made me. But I'm curious about like your experience, and like you're saved now. I know there was a huge explant movement. I know women are still getting breasts. They're still getting explants. Like that's still happening. I'm curious where you find yourself today.
So what's interestingly enough is that my mom got her breast done when I think I was like 5. 6.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I was old enough to comprehend that, like, okay, my mom just got boobs. And so I was against it for the longest time. I was like, I'll never get implants. No, thank you.
Why?
I think there's always been like this part. Me and my mom have such a good relationship, but there's always been this part of like, I don't want to be too much like you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
it was kind of a rebellion against her.
Yeah, and I just always thought, like, why do you need to do that? There's no need to do that. And then I competed, lost everything, was completely flat. And I finished competing. And then after I competed, I think because you start looking at yourself so much in the mirror, you're critiquing every little part of you. I wanted more of that hourglass shape. I've always naturally had a bigger bottom, and I don't know, I wanted it to look like this.
I wonder where you got that idea from.
right. And so, yeah, I just all of a sudden was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
And what did your mom say about it?
She's always been supportive. And especially since she has implants, what is she going to tell me? No.
Yeah.
She loves hers.
Yeah.
Still to this day.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something that people might not like, but I don't think that's good modeling as a parent, because I think the message you're sending to your child is, I don't accept myself as I am. I need to change it. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me about that, and they're not going to like that. But I ultimately think that's like, that influenced you a lot. Even though initially you went like this, it was still in the back of your mind that like someone you love very deeply did that. And that's okay. And she's happy about it. And so that's modeling, right? We watch our parents, and some things we take and some things we rebel against. But it's like, what would it have looked like if, and this is, again, like I'm speaking from someone who disliked and spent so much time focusing on my breasts, which was a waste of time in hindsight. But learning to accept our bodies as they are versus saying, these breasts are going to change how I feel about myself. Because I don't know. You tell me.
No,
Did it do what you thought it was going to do?
Well, going to that point, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
But to offer a different perspective,
Yes.
one, my mom did not have God in her life.
Yeah.
So I think that women who don't have God in their life, it's not necessarily, oh, my whole life is going to change when I get boobs. I'm going to feel so much happier. It's more like, hey, I've been thinking about this. I think it would enhance my look, and it's so easily available. So like, why not? Like, what's the problem with that when it's offered so easily? Right. So I think that's kind of the perspective people have if they don't have God.
Right.
Or aren't like super aware. However, I do fully agree that there is a lot of molding, because, there did come a point where I was like, well, you have them, why can't I? Right. So, well, I think there's more acceptance. Yeah. Yeah. Rather than like not thinking like, oh, maybe this like subconsciously is not doing the best for me, nor is it needed.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably a lot of Christians too that get plastic surgery. So I don't know if I were considering plastic surgery, I would personally ask the Lord and say, like, do you want this for me now, right? Now that I know what I know. And then I'd hear what he has to say. But I think, it's tough, because a lot of people would argue, I can hear argue like, what's it to you? Like, if a woman wants to do this and she will feel better, then why not? And I guess what I would say is, I don't believe that it's actually going to do for you what you think it is. And that's me, without knowing, right? And that's where I said, did it do for you what you thought it was going to do? Because maybe it did. But I think the root issue of why we go and do all these things, if that doesn't get addressed, then it's still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting because I got mine done, and for the first 2 years, I didn't like show them off. I was very modest. I covered because I did it for me. But a couple years down the road, I used it in my advantage.
Sure, made money,
right? And it's a hard thing, because I do sometimes think like, oh, I'd be curious if I didn't have them. you know, because there is that whole issue of, okay, after 10 years, you have to get them redone.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's also a marketing tactic that plastic surgeons use because they want your money. They want you to keep coming back. Because I've definitely done a deep research of, you don't necessarily have to have them redone every 10 years. It's more or less if you're noticing things, then you should get them checked out.
Yeah.
But so I often wonder, like, I wonder if I would, quote unquote, be healthier, or if I would see life differently if I didn't get them done. But I'm not mad that I have them done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because I know several women who've had them done, and I know several women who got them out, and I know some women who got sick and got them out. So it's like, you just never know. I know in general, so I used to get Botox and I stopped, and it was hard to stop because I would see the wrinkles come back and I didn't want to deal with that, as if I'm not aging, as if we're all not aging, right? And it's like, it would be beautiful if we could all just embrace the fact that we are aging, that every day we're getting older, but there's such an emphasis on anti-aging and like freezing your face and no wrinkles and how beautiful that is. And it is beautiful. But there's a bigger, there's several bigger issues here, which is just like a denial of the natural process that God has designed us for, which is that our bodies do age and our bodies do not go with us to heaven. Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, I think so much of plastic surgery, Botox, filler, all that, we wouldn't be driven to go do those things if it wasn't popularized.
Oh, yeah. If it wasn't just shoved in our faces.
Right. And it is an interesting concept to think about, how if we didn't, or if it was a very small market, plastic surgery was only a $500,000, dollar industry, something very, very small, we probably would have such a different outlook. But because, the marketing and how it just infiltrates every aspect of our lives.
Mm-hmm. I think it said something like 9.5 million people got Botox in 2023. Wow. These stats are from 2023. Right. And so, and then I can't even imagine the cosmetic industry, how much money they make, and just the lengths that we go to look a certain way, which that look that we're all going for is a look that's been given to us. It's been programmed because it's changed over time.
Well, see, that's what's so fascinating too, is it always changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So whatever generation you were born is, what you were marketed, and then 20 years later, it's going to completely change.
I remember because I grew up in like the Calvin Klein, Kate Moss kind of waif thin look was what was in. And then I remember as I was getting older, it became like the curvy Kim K look.
The BBLs.
Yes. And it blew my mind that BBLs existed. I was like, what? This is actually happening. And in certain areas, Miami, LA, etc., that is so normal for people to go do that. And I've heard, I don't know, that a lot of TikTokers, it was like a trend to go get a BBL and put it out there with young girls.
Oh, I know someone who has one.
Yeah. And for me, again, it's like all I keep thinking about is just what it's doing to us as a society, as women. Like we talked about the uniqueness that God designed us in, right? He knew us and formed us before we were in our mother's womb, said in Jeremiah. And so he gave us a unique look. And I think we've been programmed to try to distort and change that look so that we all start to look the same, right? Even myself, like blonde hair, light eyes, tan skin, like that's not an original look. That's not an original look. You have always been redheaded and gotten a lot of attention, you said, because of that factor, right? And it was heavily impressed upon you that your looks were something that you needed to focus on, and that became something you were reinforced for. And I'm very mindful of that when I'm around little girls. I honestly now don't even try to tell little girls that they're pretty because I don't want to reinforce them for how they look. And people might say, well, it's a bit rigid. And maybe it is, but it's like, how much programming do we receive?
Yeah, I
It's
completely agree.
everywhere. And so it's like, how do you start to deprogram some of this? Because as a mental health clinician, I'll tell you, the self-hatred that I've seen, the anorexia, the bulimia, the body dysmorphia, right? The fears of feeling rejected because of how people look, just self-destructive behaviors like promiscuity. You and I were very much involved in that. Porn, putting yourself out there online in an overly sexualized way, doing just incredibly dangerous and risky things for attention through our bodies.
And the thing is, you can do all these things and it might bring you a short-term fulfillment, but at the end of the day, it's never going to give you long-term fulfillment.
No.
And I've done a couple things, and I can, and I've done the whole OF. I've been overly sexual, seeking validation from men. I can tell you, it doesn't bring you validation. These breast implants don't bring me, fulfillment. They haven't completed my life.
No, I think that's a lie from the pit of hell, is that if I get a BBL, if I get this, if I dye my hair, whatever, then I'm going to be happy. But really it's going to be, well, what's the next thing I can do? And that's what the body dysmorphia. You see people who are addicted to plastic surgery or addicted to changing themselves, or they just spend so much time on their looks.
You saying that reminded me of the show Botched.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was huge when I was growing up. And of course that was very extreme, but think of how many more people are like that.
Oh, I used to watch, was probably too old for you, but Nip Tuck.
Yes, I was about to say that. Yeah, I loved
it. Yes. Loved it. Because it's just showing you the possibilities, but it's the one thing I always felt when I worked at the hospital. We had a specific unit for eating disorders, like folks who struggled with eating disorders. And I just have like so much empathy, because food is one of those things where you have to eat every day to survive. So your relationship with food is so important.
Yeah.
And I think all of us go through evolutions of learning to have a healthy relationship with food.
Yeah.
Some of us never get there. Some of us, do really well. But I just remember I was working with this one girl, and, she was telling me about the obsessions and the compulsions with food and thinking about her body. And of course, as a woman, I can relate to thinking about my body obsessively. But just when I think about, God's design for us, and when I think about God looking at us, and he sees how much time we're spending worrying about our butt, our breast size, our stomach, our hair, like our face shape, our weight, the amount of time that we put on that, I honestly believe it just grieves the Lord, because he has such higher things for us to set our focus on. This body is temporary. This body is not with you for eternity. Eternity is far longer than this short time we're on earth. Mm-hmm. This body is not meant to be something we obsess about. It's meant to be something we honor and steward and take care of, for sure. You want to eat healthy. You want to exercise. But to be consumed with how you look, that's also narcissism. So you know what I mean?
Well, like, a couple things to add on to that is, one, we are not taught, at least I will just say, if you don't have God in your life from a young, early age, we aren't taught how to steward our bodies correctly, how to love our bodies correctly, because the world programs how we think we should. And then also adding on to that is, I really believe that, again, we're living in Satan's playground. And so it's a way to get us farther from what God has intended us to be, has designed us to be. Because when we're so thinking outward of our looks and just, all of that, it puts us farther away from actually hearing from him and being closer with him.
Yeah. It's also an idol. Anything that we're obsessively focusing on is taking the place of God in our hearts.
Oh, and yes. And I was going to add, it just puts us more into self.
Yes, which is exactly where Satan wants us,
Yes.
because he is all about the self.
Mm-hmm.
Do as thou wilt is his like first commandment in the Satanic Bible. Do as thou wilt. Free sex, free love. Like the sexual empowerment movement for women has been, frankly, nothing but lies and deception. As someone who really bought into the work hard, play hard culture, go sleep with whoever I want, one night stands. Like I always related to Samantha on Sex of the City because she was the overly sexual one. She never got married. She always had little playboys she was talking to. And I was like, that's me, and I took a lot of pride, another sin, in that because I felt like, yeah, I can get young guys. I can get hot guys. I can do this. Had nothing to do with God's design for me. Matthew 4:19, he says, you will be a fisher of men. He didn't say you will like spread your body around like it's cheap, right? You're giving away your body for free. When he made this a holy temple, this is expensive and you're just giving it away for free and wondering why you're not like getting what you desire out of a relationship. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, and it just goes to show like you really don't respect yourself. Even though when you're doing that, and again, I'm talking for myself, when I was doing OnlyFans, when I was posting the very provocative photos and I had people tell me like, you need God in your life, you don't respect yourself, I would always think, no, I do respect myself. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm empowered.
Right. And it's deception.
Yes.
Because
and it's so sad because when you're in it, you just don't know.
mm-hmm.
Because I often think back to my younger self and I had no idea. I thought I was doing everything right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the lie.
And I just want to like pull her. I mean, obviously I'm not there anymore. And so, but for other women that are still there, it hurts because I often think, even if I do have a daughter, how to teach her better. Obviously, having God in our life is going to be a night and day difference. Mm-hmm. But, just helping other women to see a different way. Because again, when we get so consumed in a certain way of thinking and we think we're right, it's so hard to see a different perspective. Because again, our minds are so limited. So what we think we know is like the end all be all.
Yeah.
But and that's something I've also learned is there's so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
And this is just one where, especially with the uprise of social media and everybody having like that Instagram phase, the filler, the cheek filler, lips, Botox, symmetry, veneers,
mm-hmm.
Again, as you just mentioned earlier, it's all starting to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to go back to God's design,
mm-hmm.
looking our individuality because that's what makes us special.
Yeah. That's who he made us to be. And so it keeps going back to, so you do some things. Okay. We're not judging anyone who's done anything because we've done things, right? And we're just wanting to have a conversation about it because it's so pervasive in the indoctrination that we experience of how we should change ourselves. And God says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. He made us in his image. He made us in his image. He crafted us in our mother's womb, and he made us with intention and purpose. And so when we go changing everything, because we have the freedom to do that. We do. He gave us free will. He loved us so much that he said, you get to choose. I give you this body and you get to choose what you do with it. You get to choose how you think about it. You get to choose how you treat it. And I just realized, man, I disrespect my body so intensely by how I think about it, how I talk to it, the way I hyper-focus negatively on aspects of it, the way I criticize myself, the way I want to change it. And by the way, like, if you're a parent, your kids see that. They see mommy standing in the mirror, grabbing her rolls or her pooch or whatever thing is going on with your body. Kids watch moms not liking what they see in the mirror. They can tell. I remember my mom would go on these grapefruit diets and she'd put them on me, or she'd put me on them with her, where you ate a grapefruit for breakfast, a grapefruit for lunch, and a sensible dinner. And we also did Slim Fast and we did shakes. But there was a lot of, because that was normal. Like the dieting culture was so normal. So it was like dieting culture. There was fast food.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say props to my mom. She had a garden and she did
That's
home
cool.
cooking. So that was good. But yeah, it's like we, as kids, you watch how your parents, and that's the modeling, right? So it's not just, I would say, I guess why I'm bringing that up is you can combat this in your home first by how you think and talk to yourself. And if you have kids, what you're showing your kids about how you think and talk about yourself. And then what are you reinforcing in your kids? Is it all about their looks? It's hard when you have really cute kids, and there's a lot of really cute kids out there. It's hard to not constantly talk about their looks, but we do want to affirm things that aren't just their looks, right? Because, you know, as women, we're so susceptible to just being obsessed about that as a pillar of our worth.
Mm-hmm. It's like, it's so hard.
So hard.
And it's something I'm still learning and grasping onto and really having it, you know, internally in there. Because I still will look past the mirror, you know, that happy relationship. Wait, I was at my best physique before I met Hunter.
Oh, wow.
And then we got married and I put on probably like 20 to 30 pounds. And since then I've been, you know, taking care of myself, but I'm still not there. And I still, you know, to be honest, will look at myself in the mirror and be like, oh, that can go down more. This could be looking like this. I'll pull up right here. Like, if only it looks like this. So I just want to be honest that I'm not, you know, even though we're having this conversation, I'm not perfect.
No, I'm not either.
I'm not fully there.
No, that's why we want to have the conversation, because we're not fully there.
But I think it's smart to be aware.
Yeah. Like when we started filming this podcast, I had never been on video so consistently. I've done a lot of speaking engagements and I've been on video quite a bit, but I just noticed that dialogue in my head when we were on video consistently, and it wasn't nice. It was like focusing on things I didn't like, focusing on things I wanted to change. And the Lord really convicted me. I was sitting in my quiet time and he brought me to a scripture and he had me read it. I'm not remembering what scripture it was right now. And he had me read it and I was like, Lord, what are you trying to say in that? And he was basically letting me know that I was too focused on what I was looking like. He's like, that's not why I'm asking you to do this podcast. I'm not asking you to do this podcast because of how you look.
It just sounds funny when you say it out loud.
Yeah. And I'm like, yep, I know that. And so he basically was like, stop focusing on that. That is not what's important. That's not how I made you. That's not why I want you to use your voice. I want you to use your voice for the kingdom. It's not going to be how you look that draws people into the kingdom. And that's very true. And we are so programmed as women to believe that our looks need to be a certain way. And so we're just saying that we struggle too. And so that's why we're talking about it.
I mean, when you've been programmed for so long, it's hard to deprogram yourself.
Yeah. And it's a work in progress. And so that's where like I love to kind of shift and talk about God's design for us as women. And what does God say is beautiful? You know, we clearly know what the world says is beautiful, but what does God have to say about what beauty is? And I kind of already touched on this, but in Genesis 1:27, he talks about, so God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. Right?
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that because in Genesis 2:21-22, it says, so the Lord God caused the man to fall into deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. And I wanted to bring this up because it goes to show the intention God put when he created woman. No one else was around. He did it silently. And so it just gives hope and insight that God loves women and he made us in his image, and we don't need to change ourselves because he loves us so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the question I want to ask is if we are created in his own image, what does it say when we begin to alter what he created? And how far is too far?
It reminds me of the gifts that he gives us. And, the analogy that my husband uses is if you have kids and you were to give your kids, a gift and they just said, I don't want it. It's basically what we're doing. Like, you didn't make me good enough. Mm-hmm. So now I have to fix it. Mm-hmm. And I just imagine, what if we had children that came up to us and, it's half us, half our husband. And they were like, Mom, I'm not pretty enough. Yeah. Like you didn't make me pretty enough. That would hurt us. Yeah. So I can only imagine what God feels.
Yeah. I don't know what he thinks about. I mean, he's given us free will to paint the canvas, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's an artistic expression that we get to have with our bodies, and he's given us that ability. But again, how far is too far? I don't know. I think I gave you the example of like, if a woman had cancer and she had a mastectomy in both breasts, and if she wanted to get breasts done because of that, I wouldn't fault her for that, right? I wouldn't say, oh, you shouldn't do that. But at the same time, I also don't really trust the health of breast implants. I mean, so it's hard to know. But then, and we talked about if someone was born with a cleft palate and they wanted to fix that, that would make sense, right? And we know that people are born with things and they get surgeries to fix them because we know there's things like toxins that cause abnormalities and defects in cells. And also, we don't know, did God want to use that as a testimony? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, we're not judging anyone for changing things on their body. We just want to pose the question, what does it say when we're altering what God gave us, and how far is too far?
Yeah, it's not really just like black and white. It's very gray.
Yeah.
Because I think in the point where at least I'm really wanting to hit is that a lot of people will alter their body physically without really actually thinking about it. Just doing it because it's a trend. Mm-hmm. Don't think about the consequences, but also don't do the preventative stuff or take care of themselves. So it's just like an easy fix. And they're not willing to put in the work to actually steward and take care because, again, we're not really taught how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I mean, there's a lot at the same time. There's a million resources for free, out there to show us how to exercise, how to eat. But yeah, there are certain things you just can't change, right? Like you do, if you want bigger boobs, you're going to have to get boobs. You're going to have to buy them, right? There's no amount. I mean, I guess I could eat a bunch of cheeseburgers and just pray that they go to my breasts, right? But
right. And
it doesn't really work that way.
There's a bunch of like herbs people say that
fenugreek and different things. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So these are just like things we want to think about. We're not saying we have the full answers for this.
Right.
Also in 1 Corinthians 6, the Bible says, do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. So we're made in his image. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he is telling us that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. And so in just we've been talking about like in what ways we don't honor our bodies in the world, from how we eat to our obsessions, to our criticisms, to changing and altering things, to exposing ourselves. But how do we honor our bodies?
I'll let you go first with that. How do you on a daily basis honor your body?
Well, I've changed. It's not perfect, but I've changed so much I'll start with my dress. I dress very differently now. I used to dress anytime I went out that wasn't a professional setting. I needed it to be tight and high and showing things. And I didn't think that I just felt like if it wasn't doing that, then I wasn't pretty. I wasn't sexy. So redefining my beauty in how God sees me. And a big part of that was just learning to like genuinely love myself. We are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. And so like genuinely learning to love myself meant I don't need the constant attention or affirmation from somebody by wearing these things. And in fact, it's funny because yeah, if you're out at a nightclub, you're going to get attention for it. But in general, I don't think it draws the kind of attention we're thinking it does. You know?
Yeah.
Like I was talking to my girlfriend and she was saying they had like a Christmas party and their daughter-in-law came over and it was a Christmas party. So it was like, you know, I don't know, people are in like sweaters and Christmas stuff. And the daughter-in-law came over in just like some really tight kind of breast spilling out experience. And it was really a lot. And just how it made people feel uncomfortable, actually. Like people felt uncomfortable being around her. And I think I have noticed that as someone who used to do those kinds of things, I've noticed that when someone is uncomfortable with who they are, they might go over and above to accentuate things in order to try and feel good about themselves. But really, it's just kind of a glaring signal that like, you don't feel good enough as you are, so you need to do those things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it can make other people uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. But someone who used to be like that, I would think opposite, that you're not comfortable in your body, which is why you have opinion on how I showcase my body.
Right. It's a great lie.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole deception of it.
Yeah.
Is the it's like flipping things to make it seem powerful. When it's like, nowhere does God say, I want you to expose your breasts. I want your butt cheeks hanging out. You know, I want your navel. Like that's the trend right now is the crop tops. Like I want everything exposed. So you asked, how have I honored my body? I dress differently. I eat differently. I'm aware of toxins. There's a lot of things, actually. What about you?
I would say very same. I dress very modestly now, and I enjoy it. I actually think it's way sexier than showing off your body with all the disgusting sheen clothing, plastic. Yeah.
And she actually makes her own clothes. So you've made some very cute dresses.
My one dress, actually.
She's made one dress and it's cute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, being aware of toxins, you know, not wearing polyester, but also what I put inside my body, eating whole foods, trying to source them from ethical places. I would also, one of the big things is self-care for me, which is something I'm still trying to get back into, but I love the ritual of once a week. I mean, I put lotion on my body every single time after the shower, but once a week I love putting shea butter because it's a lot thicker. But while I'm doing that, like I have the intention of like, I love my body. I'm thankful for this body, this vessel that I have. I think that has done so much internally for me to love myself more, which, you know, in return, I don't constantly look out and what do I need to change about myself?
And thanking God for this body. Thanking God for my little boobs. Thanking God for things that I used to constantly criticize.
Well, and something I always think about, you always want what you don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I would love to go back to being natural. I mean, I'm not upset. It's something I've done. They're there.
Yeah.
It is. But, you know, I often do think like if I didn't have, and I'm sure there's things that you know, look on other people and you're like, that'd be cool if I had that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a journey.
But like taking that program out, taking that mind or that framework out and reframing it of like, you know what? I'm really happy with the body, the curves, whatever I got that God gave me. Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
This makes me me.
Yeah. And there's only one Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one Amber, right? God uniquely designed us. So I think it's like, as we mature, hopefully we gain a better relationship with our bodies, with food, with exercise, with our understanding of our weight. And it's like that we can find balance and take care of ourselves, but also looking at it from like God's design and recognizing who he says we are. And in 1 Peter 3:3-4, he said, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. That cracks me up. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is great worth in God's sight. And essentially what he's saying here is that beauty, what he sees as beautiful, comes from within. It's all about our heart. So he also says in 1 Samuel 16:7, but the Lord said to Samuel, do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. That's important. The Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Mm-hmm. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
So good.
That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Being vulnerable right now, this is something that we talked about when we were discussing this episode. I said, because we're very visual creatures, you know, how I'm sure you can think of a time where you start talking to someone who may not physically appear to be the most, you know, beautiful, but then you start talking to them and they have a heart of gold. Their soul is just absolutely beautiful. It just makes them that much more physically attractive or, you know, all around more attractive.
Yes.
And it's because you actually got to know like from within. And, you know, you can spin that and reverse it. And like, how many times have you met someone who on the outside is so beautiful to whatever standard, but you start talking to them and you're like, is there anything going on inside there?
Yeah.
Or like, do you know how to be nice?
Mm-hmm. And like who they are on the inside turns you off.
Yeah.
And they actually become less attractive because of their personality and like their heart posture. 100%. I always love when I meet people that just glow from the inside out because they're precious and they just become so beautiful in your eyes. And it really, to me, is the embodiment of what God's talking about, which is he cares about our heart. So if you're a beautiful person with all the right measurements and all the symmetrical this, that, and the other, and your hair is the right length and, you know, your skin is soft and you have all the things, but your heart is wicked, what good is any of that? Like for real.
Yeah.
What good is any of that? Because the hyper focus on making your body look a certain way is a waste of time. That is not what God called us here to do. He didn't call us here to say, I want you to have the perfect measurements. He did call us to steward our bodies, but he didn't call us to be obsessed about them. So it's a constant reminder of just like when you start to get in that like nitpicky, critical place about yourself, it's like, give that to God because God's looking at your heart. He's looking at the fruit of the Spirit. Are you loving? Are you kind? Are you peaceful? Are you good? Right? Are you patient? Or are you a complete jerk? It matters. Mm-hmm. You know? So that's, I really like that. In Proverbs 31:30, it says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And I just think it really speaks to the fact that our beauty is going to fade.
Yeah. We can't reverse aging.
No.
Now, the world will tell you that you can try.
Yeah. The world will tell you really satanic things. Like you can do adrenochrome and stop your aging. And again, that's not of God. It's so interesting, just as a side note there, that the things that are intended like that to really keep you youthful, they're not of God. God designed you to age. Now, that's not to say that you can't take care of yourself and you can't use your creams and you can't do all your things, right? That's not what we're saying. But like that adrenochrome issue, for example, that's evidence that Satan is using and harming children so that people can go ahead and stop aging. Like he's manipulating and perverting God's design by harming kids. And Hollywood and the beauty industry, whomever's involved in it, it's out there. It's happening. It's not like a secret. And so people are choosing to worship to worship Satan, to say, I'm gonna choose this body looking good, even though it's gonna harm people. I'm gonna choose that instead of embracing God's design. That's wild.
Well, it just goes back to everything is self.
Yeah. Yes. Everything is self. Everything is selfie culture. Look at me, all the things.
Well, I'm doing this for me. Don't care about other people. It's just me, 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 me.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And I think also something that I learned from an early age, even though I didn't, necessarily have God in my life, was when people pass away, you don't remember them for their looks.
Right.
You don't remember that, like, oh, you know what? Jessica, she was good. She had like great breast implants.
Yeah. Remember those breast implants? Wowzers.
Yeah.
Well, there might be a few that say that, but
Okay.
Well, like our friend Hannah, she recently passed away. Hannah's beautiful, but really when she died, all I kept hearing was how she made people feel, that people felt loved in her presence, that they felt seen in her presence. And that was her heart. So people remember your heart. They don't care as much about your body, but the world, Satan, programming, the culture has made us believe that this thing we want to obsess about, because the more you obsess about it, the less time you're going to focus on God.
Right.
And what he has for you. So let's kind of like recap that. The Lord has made us in his image, which means he's designed us intentionally. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. He's asking us to focus on our internal selves, the beauty within our heart. He's asking us to work from within, because our physical body is going to fade. It's not going to last. This body's not going to go to heaven with us. We're going to get new bodies eventually in heaven. So what would you say, Jessica, if someone's really struggling and they're in like an obsessive phase about their looks? What would you encourage them with?
I would first tell them to go within. And honestly, I got a couple things. Because one, I think you should take it to God. And just vent. This is how you feel. And that kind of goes within of where is this coming from? Why are you so upset? Why do you feel the need to constantly obsess with whatever you're obsessing with physically? And then change the story. So let's just hypothetically say that someone is obsessing with like their weight. Start with what you can do naturally. Are you speaking well to your body? Because we know within the Bible it says the tongue either produces life or death. So maybe you can change what you're telling yourself. Then are you eating well? Are you doing the self-care things? Are you working out? I would start there and give it time too. It's not, we live in a society of like these quick fixes, and that's just not reality. Good things take time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The internal growth takes time. So
the identity switch or releasing an old identity to create a new one takes time.
Yeah. So seeing yourself the way God sees you.
Yes.
That's a great place to start, is like, God, here's what I think about myself. Surrender that at the altar of his feet and say, Lord, how do you see me? And this is where, we can even attach a link. Like I have a whole sheet about how God sees us, right? Scripture is connected to how does God see us? Because He's not obsessed about your body the way that you are. He wants you to love and take care of that body. He doesn't want you to hate it the way that you do. So if you really are struggling like with body dysmorphia, like you talked about, or other things, you do want to seek help for that. You do want to say, okay, I don't want my time and attention and my emotions so connected to this, right? You want to give it to God. You want to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things are added to you. So he will show you what he thinks of you so he can bring your unique identity back.
Now, that is coming from someone who doesn't have a medical doctorate or has been on my walk with God for 14 years. So what would you do? What would you say?
Well, kind of just what I was saying,
Okay.
which is like submit it to him.
Yeah.
Like start with him, get to know what he has to say about you, because, and then, you know, do the work internally, like you were saying, to take care of yourself, because you do need to do things to take care of yourself. But recognize if you're buying into lies, trying to feel good and worthy through that next plastic surgery, or through those chicken cutlets in your bra, or the corset around your waist, or the extra pounds of makeup, or whatever it is you think you need to do to feel and look good. Again, we're not saying getting dressed up is bad. It's just, are you placing your worth on these things?
Yeah. And to add to that, I also would go within and ask yourself, where are you getting these ideas from that you need to change whatever it may be, or that you're not good enough? Are you spending too much time on social media and letting that program you? And if you answer yes, I highly recommend taking time away.
Yes.
Because and I would love to talk about this in a later episode, the effects of what our phones are doing to us, from someone who didn't get social media until after high school, basically, I notice the difference in my own brain. And I can only imagine what, and this is a topic I'm very fascinated with, people growing up with social media and how that just like completely distorts, and you don't really have a different perspective to kind of go back on. But if you are someone who spends so much time on social media and is just constantly seeing and comparing, taking time away from that to just be in your own reality, because I can promise you things will completely change.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not sucked into this like weird world.
Yeah. So knowing when you need to take a break from it, knowing when you're comparing yourself too much, when you're getting upset about things you're seeing, being able to detach from that. And again, the world, TikTok, social media, politics, identity politics, movies, all of it is going to tell you who you are. And really none of that matters. It's what does God say about you? Even your friends, even your family tries to tell you who you are, but it's like, what does God have to say about you? So I would really like ask you just to sit in his presence, invite Holy Spirit in and ask him to show you, like I did. I said, Lord, who am I to you? And he gave me Matthew 4:19. You are a fisher of men. And that really influenced, he wants me to share the gospel. He wants me to speak about his kingdom. I didn't want to back then, but he started showing me who I am in him. And that's what actually matters. That's where, when we die and leave this body, we're going to have a whole life. When we leave this body, all the obsession about it, it's not going to matter, because we're going to leave this body and then we're going to have this whole life after. And what we do in this body now is going to dictate what that life looks like after. Truly. So you want to get to know what the Lord has to say about who you are, and just detach from the hyper intensive focus on how your body looks. Take care of it. Don't obsess about it.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a quick summary. Take care. Don't obsess.
And we're done.
Quit it. Quit obsessing. Yeah. So any final thoughts?
It's not black and white.
No.
It's very gray.
Yeah.
But I think your intentionality and where you start with everything matters most. Because, we've already said this multiple times during this episode. We're not saying that all things are bad. we're more or less saying how far is too far.
Yeah.
Let's not get extreme. And our world will program or does program ourselves to be very extreme. And we're just so much more than that. And, you know, what truly matters is what comes from within. That's where your worth comes from. And from speaking from someone who just had so much worth in my physical appearance and just where that led me and how unfulfilled I was to now I'm learning who I am who I am internally, who God made me. I'm way more fulfilled than I've ever been.
Yes, that's what it is that it's an empty pursuit, right? Like focusing on your physical body as your primary source of worthiness, attention, confidence is an empty journey. And it truly will be empty at the end of your life as well. It will not lead to what you hope it will lead to. So the more you can recognize that now, and that you are not your body, that you are not defined by how your body looks, and that you can surrender that to the Lord and get to know what He says about you, the way better off you're going to be now and through eternity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Amen.
This was a fun episode. This was very fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear everyone's feedback about it.
Yeah, I would love to know if you related to us in any way, or maybe you've been down your own journey and now you were once within the world and you lived through your looks, and now you live through God and you see the different perspectives. I would love to hear about it. I think it's, so fascinating, and we would love some likes, some follows. We really do appreciate your support, as we mentioned in the beginning of the episode.
Subscribe. Yeah. Share with anyone that you think is struggling with this, and that's just like all people, all women. We're all affected by this. None of us are immune to this, right? We're all getting the barrage of indoctrination daily. So please feel free to share and just let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Until next episode, remember that your past does not define you,
but your redemption refines you.
Love you, gals.